Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central TV. I'm Kofi Bartels. Let's begin the news at this hour with a look at the top stories. Christians in Nigeria celebrate Easter amidst the country's harsh economy. Fire has left 2 dead and about 2,000 homeless in South Africa. And in Tunisia, demonstrators march in support of ceasefire in Gaza. Stay with us because we have details of those headlines and other stories ahead. You're welcome. Let's begin by telling you that the chairman of the All Progressives Congress Caretaker Committee in River State, Tony Okocha, has knocked some chieftains of the People's Democratic Party in the state over their recent declaration of support for President Bola Tinubu and Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Now, this came as a direct reaction to a press conference by former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Secondus, and the former Minister of Transportation, Abia State, among others, who declared their support for Tinubu and Fubara. While addressing a press conference at the National Secretariat of the party in Abuja, Okocha said that most of all those PDP elements are still in the camp of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. He also faulted their declaration of support for President Tinubu, saying that they are the ones giving Governor Fubara the confidence to challenge the resolution of President Bola Tinubu on the political crisis in River State.
If the midnight pseudo-lovers of Mr. President today, as shown in their test under critique, if they are now convinced that Mr. President is abundantly fit and proper to preside over Nigeria, and that his 10 months in office has provided renewed hope for an El Dorado for Nigerians, and choose to recant their hitherto unsavory and unprintable toxics against Mr. President, they should follow the proper channels allowed for potting or decamping to any political party. This approach of browbeating and blackmailing they intend to use is not fashionable at all. No sane host tolerates a guest who attempts to enter his or her house through the window when the doors are wide open. That's 6 out of 8. Why are the other 2 difficult? What are the 2? Go and conduct local government election. And if you are governor, you are almost there for 1 year, and every day you think you are carrying crowd, you should just test the waters and find out that those crowds you are carrying are rented. When a man is hungry and you say, hey, enter the bus, we are going for somewhere, I will give you 5,000. They will push each other to enter the bus. That's the kind of crowd he has. He doesn't have the people. And rivers.
Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has felicitated Christians in the country and around the world as they celebrate the Easter season. Easter is an event that commemorates the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. It also symbolizes Christ's victory over sin and death. To mark the day, the president in a statement called on Christians to imbibe the virtues of love, sacrifice, and compassion associated with the season. Since assuming office in May, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu's administration has embarked on several policies that have had an effect on the masses and the economy. Well, in his Easter message, the president hailed the resilience and sacrifices of Nigerians, saying it is necessary for economic recovery. Easter is one of the significant festivals for Christians. It is a time of profound spiritual renewal and joy, marking the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. Easter is celebrated on the first Sunday following the full moon after the spring equinox. In Nigeria, this year's celebration seems rather different, with citizens contending with the rising cost of living. With more, here's News Central's Bettina Willie.
Whether through solemn rituals or joyful gatherings, Easter is a time when Christians reflect on life's blessings and spread love and good news of Jesus Christ's resurrection. However, in many places, most people concentrate more on the celebration than the reason for the season.
Easter is simply about the reason for why we are Christians. I mean, without Easter, basically, the whole essence of our faith is not there.
I think the present generation has lost it, and sometimes I look at it that maybe we should be blamed because the essence of Easter is for us to look at the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, what he really stood for and what he did for us, and then lend our life, give ourselves to him, and be obedient unto him. But what we see is that people are now celebrating, dancing, jumping, drinking, doing things, instead of even being a sober time where you look at your life and you dedicate yourself to Christ.
Usually a time to merry and jolly, especially after the long fast. This year, the economic hardship in Nigeria seems to be biting harder than ever, leaving the faithful clinging to nothing but their faith and hope for a better tomorrow.
In our own little way, we do our bits. I mean, a few weeks ago, in our neighborhood here, the whole of the Jaconde here got pulled down. Of course, who takes the blunt is the church. This church where they come. We have to support them with funds to relocate. Every Sunday we are giving people food stuff. So we are doing the bit. We expect the government to do their bit.
This is okay, but the economic is only by God's grace for everything.
The hardship is too much. This time of Easter, there's not much customer in doing our work and everything.
The economy has nothing to do with my Easter because I'm of Christ and because I belong to Christ. Nigeria's economy has nothing whatsoever to do with my Easter.
Christians in Nigeria are having a low-key Easter celebration this year. No thanks to the current economic hardship in the country that has triggered high cost of foodstuff as well as the soaring cost of transportation for holiday travelers amongst other factors. It is hoped that just like the seasons, this too shall pass. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Willie.
In Umuahia, the capital of Abia State, Christians trooped out in their numbers to celebrate Easter in commemoration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now, the central message by the Catholic Bishop of Umuahia Diocese, Right Reverend Michael Ukpong, focused on forgiveness, sacrifice, and endurance. He also enjoined Christians to emulate all the virtues of Christ, where he exhibited while on earth, to help them advance their heavenly race. Also, the Bishop of the Umuahia Diocese of the Methodist Church, Nigeria, Right Reverend Ikechukwu Emezi Nkulo, called on the government to make people-oriented policies and to fix the nation's basic infrastructure.
Jesus gives us the firm hope and faith that resurrection from the dead, as he promised us, is a reality, not just fiction. The lesson it is teaching us that is that goodness has always the upper hand, will always triumph over evil, because Jesus was crucified out of hatred. And it's also telling us that no matter what we suffer, as long as we are suffering innocently, then you have nothing to regret. At the end of the day, God will vindicate you. And so we shouldn't see every suffering as evil. And it should encourage us to be bold in doing the right thing always, even when everybody is persecuting us, remembering that Jesus was crucified for doing good.
To actually rise with Christ, but in my own understanding, I want to rise living off whatever that is against the wish of Christ. Whatever is sinful, whatever is harmful to humanity, I leave it away and then decide to live a brand new life, emulating Christ in all I do. This is my main aspirations, particularly.
As Nigerians continue to groan over the nation's worsening economy and insecurity, Christians remain optimistic that the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead guarantees a better tomorrow. This was the crux of the Christian faithful in Asaba Delta State as they joined their counterparts all over the world to celebrate this year's Easter Sunday. At various church services held in the state capital to herald the celebration, Nigeria's leaders were urged to be willing to make sacrifices for the greater unity, peace, and progress of the country. Christians reminded that, having gone through 40 days of fasting and prayer, Easter remains the most appropriate time for them to purge themselves of those weight that have impeded the progress of the country by demonstrating full love and purity, not only to one another, but to others in society.
Our nation must rise. They must embrace the rising of Jesus and make this nation rise, because it has been placed in our hands and the hands of the politicians to make it work. They should make it work. We cannot remain in darkness when Jesus has risen.
That there is difficulty, but because of the resilience of Nigerians, that they are forging ahead with happiness.
His love over us supersedes what we are going through, supersede the hardship that we are going through. So I think today is, no matter what you're going through, you come out and celebrate. You don't have to cook. Just celebrate His grace, celebrate His power, celebrate His passion to die for mankind.
Continue to pray. But my message to political class is for them to do the right thing. It is just very good that we do things that will uplift the people, not, tormenting people, putting them into bondage.
So I'm expecting that the celebration of Jesus Christ will bring upon us, the Nigerians, every good thing that comes with.
Muslim faithful in Jos, the Plateau State capital, have urged the federal government to wade into the economic crisis that has caused untold hardship to citizens. This was made known when New Central's Chizoba Nioe sought to find out how they are coping with the economic meltdown as they perform their Ramadan rites.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Ramadan is one of the most spiritual exercises within Islam. It is a period of fasting where believers abstain from as much as carnal acts as possible, give alms to the less privileged, and above all, abstain from food from 6 o'clock in the morning till same time in the evening when a call for the closing prayer for the day's fast is heard.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Sani Muazu, his wife and children have just concluded prayers to end the day's fast. It is now time for the breaking of fast with different dishes to choose from. They spoke on the essence of Ramadan.
Fasting is not just a way of nourishment to the soul. It is also, a shield, for the Muslim. Shield from committing all kinds of atrocities or, unruly behaviors.
It's not the much that you give, but it's the little that you are able to give. There's a hadith that the Prophet said that even if it is half a date, share one date, give your neighbor half.
It gives me a chance personally to reconnect with my religion, to put this hustle and grind to the side just for a little while and focus on what is important.
Especially us as youths, coming from the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you interact with people.
Behind me here is the Masalichin Juma in Jos. It is the biggest and the main worship center for the Muslim faithful here on the plateau. However, I am here to ascertain from the Muslim faithful how they cope with the hardship of the economy as they celebrate the month of Ramadan in Jos.
We are trying our best to cope with the economy because this our fasting is a sacrifice that we must do it.
When doing fasting, I have kamu, I drink. Nothing. This condition is very high. It's very high. We need government to do something about this.
Behind the sharing of this palliative is Pam Wadcom, the senator representing Plateau North Senatorial District.
As we can see today, people are suffering. People are stopping you from the road
begging you or asking you for assistance or help. So I think this can go a long way in touching the lives of some people.
I want to appreciate the senator for remembering the Muslims, for the palliative.
By the next 9 days, when Ramadan will come to an end, it is expected that the fruits of the month-long fast and Lenten supplication to the Almighty will be evident in the commitment of everyone to making the country a better place for all. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyuwi.
We have more stories ahead. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. You're still watching News Central now, right here on News Central Television. To more stories. Nigeria's National Assembly has urged the country's President Bola Tinubu to declare a state of emergency on the nation's infrastructure. According to the chairman of the Senate and House of Representatives Committees on Works, Senator Baronada Mpigi and Representative Akin Alabi, respectively, the state of emergency declaration becomes imperative given the enormity of the challenges on the ground. While noting that the situation of the nation's infrastructure calls for thinking outside the box, the lawmakers pointed out that the financial requirements needed to fix the nation's infrastructure are well beyond the capacity of annual appropriations. Oludare Akinlaja, Dr. Oludare Akinlaja is a managing partner of OAR&D Company, a research and development firm, and he joins us right here in the studio. It's good to have you, Dr. Akinlaja.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Do you agree with the call that there needs to be a declaration of a state of emergency on infrastructure in Nigeria?
Well, I don't know what they mean by state of emergency, but and what irks me really about that declaration is where it is coming from, because they are the people who are involved in driving policies and laws that help the infrastructure, that help close up infrastructural gaps and all that. So I'm really confused as to what they mean by declaring a state of emergency. But do we need to close our infrastructural gaps? Yes, we do. But sometimes I just think that people throw words around because they want to get some form of sensationalism. I don't think that was state of emergency. I'm wondering the intention behind the word. But do we need serious attention to be given to our infrastructural gaps and close up those gaps? Of course we do. Of course we do.
All right. The chairman and members of the committees on infrastructure, that's works rather, both of the Senate and House of Reps, were on a tour with the Minister of Works, former Governor of Ebonyi State, David Umuahia, who kept saying they need more allocation for infrastructure. They started from Lagos to look at the ongoing work, the beginning of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road. Recently, of course, David Umuahia has proudly announced that the Third Mainland Bridge rehabilitation has been completed. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to use it.
I won't lie, it's beautiful.
Okay, it's beautiful, right?
It is.
So how it's 10 months down the road into his administration, 10 months. How will you score Bola Tinubu as far as infrastructure is concerned?
It's difficult to use 10 months because of the gaps we have had in the nation. There's really a lot to cover up on, so it's difficult to score. But for like you just spoke about the Third Mainland Bridge, I have used that bridge, and the quality of work that is done on the bridge is excellent, we must say. And the fact that they have now done solar lights, solar street lights on the stretch of the bridge is beautiful, I must say. I must commend them in that area that the work on the bridge was well done. But I don't know how to score because there are other things that people might complain about. Power, some certain roads are still bad, so it's difficult to score.
They've started the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road.
It's beautiful, but Kofi, it's important that we must pay attention. You see, when you are going to that road, people are asking, what of the ones that currently exist? What are you doing about the ones that currently exist? So what are we doing about that one? So you must do the ones that are directly involved with people in the immediate. So maybe we have short-term goals. The Lagos-Calabar road is a long-term goal. You agree with me that they can't finish that road in the next 1 year. Okay, so but what are the ones they can do in 5 months? So I like that the Third Mainland Bridge was something they would have been able to do quickly, and they did that. So most of those short interventions are quite important. And I want to say this with the state of emergency, Kofi. Most of the House of Assembly members who are now declaring a state of emergency, you will agree with me that most of our challenges with the constituency projects, those are infrastructural projects. Those are part of the things that are causing the infrastructural gap. So why are they saying the president should do a state of emergency? They themselves too should pay attention to their constituency projects and begin to fill these infrastructural gaps. And let's not always look at the top. Let's look at they who are doing the streets, the roads, and those small things that they do in their own constituencies.
All right, I won't be surprised if the House of Reps and the Senate member or chairman who spoke also have their own roads to their own communities in bad condition. I do know that, for instance, Senator Barry Piggy, who comes from Ogoniland, the road that leads to his country home or his constituency from Port Harcourt, that's the LMA section of the East-West Road, is in deplorable condition. Now, this is a road that is close to the Port Harcourt refinery that takes people to the Onair port, for instance.
Yes.
We have the Indorama LMA petrochemical refinery and Intels and all that.
Yes.
They went on a protest some time ago, the likes of Barry Piggy, the likes of Kingsley Chinda, ranking member of the House of Reps. Do we need to see the federal government, would you like to see the federal government hand some of its infrastructure, particularly roads, especially roads, over to the state governments and then say we're going to send the money to you, budgetary allocation, and you just take care of it?
Well, Kofi, we have had this conversation a lot of times, and that's based on our design, okay? The federal government has its interest, the state government have their interest, the local government has their interest, the House of Rep member has his interest, so, and that's why you always find this tussle of it's our road, it's your road, it's federal road, that is state road, this is local road, all that conversation sometimes, I wouldn't lie to you, it's not because of the passion for the people, it's just because there are interests who want to be the ones, they want to be the ones to handle those particular projects. So you will always have those interest pressures come left to right. And I don't think that's a crime in itself. I'm just saying, if you say you will do something, if you say you want to do a road, please just ensure you get it done. Okay, and that road is a federal road, and I'm sure the federal government, if you check, maybe there have been budgetary allocations to it over and over again. Even if the full money was not paid, some people took a particular allocation, stopped at a particular point. I remember when this current minister came in, there were fights of you are not really using the correct, product to do the road. So you have all that tussle limit. So the stakeholders are a lot in that process. So I don't think we should talk about who should do or who should not do. I'm just saying if they give you a road, you have documented it, you have given a budget, can you just ensure you get the road done? Because these roads, I can assure you, are very important to the economic activity in those areas. And you have mentioned how many ports and refineries are on that stretch. You can imagine if that road is opened up, what's going to happen to the area?
All right. So some state governors have gone ahead to even ask for such roads.
Yeah.
Give them to me. See what Ambode did with the Lagos Airport Road. If it was still in that same condition, who knows how things would have been. All right. Let's look at the previous administration of Muhammadu Buhari. He came into office and began, taking loans, foreign loans and domestic loans.
Yeah.
And what we kept hearing was he wants to invest those loans in infrastructure. He'll go to National Assembly and ask for loans to be approved. Buhari left a debt of 80 trillion naira for the Bola Tinubu administration. Where exactly did the money go to? And what infrastructure do you think those loans were used to fix?
Well, Kofi, I'm tempted to sing that song, that is if you ask. but the truth is this, and that's why I feel upset when I hear most of this state of emergency and infrastructure, because it's a full value chain. There was a chairman of the works of the Committee on Works in the House of Assembly, in the House of Representatives, in that administration, and I can assure you that everybody has information about where all these monies have gone to. You can't tell me you had no idea where this money went to or what it was used for. You have it there on your desk. The current Minister of Work has the information about the last administration on his desk. And most of the time he's usually giving contractors over bloated figures, and most of the time contractors might not even have enough money to complete the project. So it's a lot of stakeholder management and how we can begin to be more accountable to our systems and to our processes. Can people just be accountable on the end-to-end? It's basic project management. Okay, if you say, and most times people collect money, come halfway and say, oh, the money was not enough, the price has increased, simply because you are trying to hoodwink the government. And Kofi, I will tell you this. We can blame the government for a lot of things, but if I'm doing a project with my fellow partner, I charge you 2 million. Once I see the government, I take it to 50 million.
Do you think that the citizens need to be more active in monitoring, government spending? We can look at, even apart from the state governments, we can look at local, apart from the federal government, we can look at local state governments and local governments, and the budgets that they present every year. For instance, in Lagos State, the governor has spared no effort in saying and reminding everyone that this budget is a budget that is meant to do a lot of infrastructural renewal and, of course, development. Some have not even looked at their local government budget. So do we need to see Nigerians taking up that responsibility?
So it's called civic. It's a civic right. There has to be an active participation of the people. And you see, currently I'm just trying to drive slowly and keep asking myself, what exactly is leadership without proper followership? People must be taught that there is a way, or there is a way that you can be followers. You should ask questions. I tell people this: who is your House of Assembly member? Who is your councillor? What do you think is happening on your road? The street where you live on, is it in the line of in the line of the budget? Was it allocated for the power? Was it allocated for? I know certain organizations in Nigeria who used to help monitor. I don't want to mention names because, of course, but who used to help monitor budget spending of the House, of certain state governments. But the challenge with that, Kofi, is that most governments have this closed. I don't know what you call it now, closed, budget and how it is done. So really you can't follow most of these spendings. But for some states, it's there. So we should begin to ask. You said you were going to allocate this road, Councillor. You said the government did not give you money, but we can see 10 million naira here. Let's begin to start from there. Our local government chairman, you say you don't get money because, we don't get allocations. But you got 50 million naira. What did you use it for? Let's begin to ask those kind of questions. Nigeria needs its citizens to be very involved in its development process. Right. Not with sensationalism, of course, but with us asking for the right thing and understanding the process in which it is done.
Oludare Akinlaja, thank you so very much for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Let's move on to other stories. Agricultural revolution through food production is what many administrations in the past and present in Nigeria have sought to explore for food security. And this special report, News Central's Umar Kirawa, assesses food production in the first quarter of the year.
The prevailing economic situation in Nigeria has made millions of people struggle to survive. Farmers in recent times in the northeastern part of the country have been in the middle of this, and even worse. This is as a result of attack by insurgents marauding the region and shows of the lake Chad. Although there is no available data on the number of farmers affected, 12 farmers were murdered early this year in Gatamarwa and Sia communities of Chibok local government. 13 farmers also paid the supreme price along Pulka and Frigi Road in Goza in late January. This has somewhat disrupted food production and supply chains, contributing to food shortages and inflation.
In the past 3 months, if you look at it, there is massive improvement in production. But the challenge there is cost of production, if you look at it now, is very high. Then, with much encouragement from the government, we can aspire to go produce more.
Cost of food is still not affordable compared to last year or yesteryears when you look at the purchasing power of the ordinary Nigerian. So to me, yes, we are producing, but it's not good enough to beat the price.
Farmers seem optimistic and determined to rebuild their lives and communities through their vocation.
Alhamdulillah,
Sustained efforts by the federal and state government yielded immense results in the first quarter of this year. Many families have been resettled to their ancestral home to resume their trade, farming. Former fighters are being de-radicalized, leading to significantly less security concerns in many parts of the northeast.
Some parts of northern Borno, like Muabar, they've started producing both food and cash crop. I can say they have reached about 40% compared to the loss and then the recovery target in ratio of 100. You will see that we have recorded about 40%.
Rural livelihoods are being revived, particularly in the tail end of the first quarter of 2024.
Agribusiness must be introduced And then value addition to agricultural produce must also be encouraged. These are capital-intensive issues and activities that the ordinary peasant farmer cannot afford to do it.
Borno State is pioneering sustainable food production by providing improved seeds, fertilizers, and adopting solar-powered water pumps to enhance their irrigation systems.
We're also trying to shift from the utilization of fossil fuel to green energy with a view to reducing carbon emission and reducing cost also.
The visit by the United Nations Secretary General earlier to Borno State re-energized the government, as it is said there is still hope for the better.
The Borno I found today is a Borno of hope, is a Borno with future. And I was very impressed to see the policy that is being applied here, recognizing that you don't fight terrorism just by military means, you fight terrorism addressing the root causes of terrorism.
As government continues efforts to reverse some of the negative trends, like the extreme upper hand of the dollar against the naira, it is hoped that by the second quarter of this year, food will not just be available, but affordable to every Nigerian. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Now let's go to River State, where the State Commander of the Nigeria Police Force has paraded a herbalist and 25 other suspects arrested for a series of car theft and other criminal activities across the state. The suspects were paraded at the State Police Headquarters on Moscow Road, Port Harcourt. And Commissioner of Police Olatunji Disu says the suspects are responsible for about 79 car thefts in the state. He revealed that one of the suspects, a herbalist who prepared charms for the criminals before the operations, was also apprehended and is helping in investigations. He also disclosed that suspects' areas of operations include Akbajo, Eleme Junction, Trailer Park, Eleme, Owerri, Aba, and Onitsha.
No, he says he's aware that those cars are stolen.
Yes, I'm aware the cars are stolen.
I'm a herbalist. There's one boy they call Justice. I don't know him before. He came and meet me on January when I'm treating other people, herbalist, wound, and stroke. That's my majority work. I specialize on it. So he told me that he went out as to check the movement for him.
For some time now, we noticed that a lot of cars were being stolen and some robbed in town. And then we tasked officers of our tactical team and our investigators to move into it. Today, I'm very happy to inform you that about 26 suspects specialized in stealing vehicles and robbing them have been arrested. Our greatest joy is the arrest of Shidoge, Anthony Oyekwe, and Kelechi Uzogwe. Shidoze is the leader of persons who come into River State to steal cars. He not only does he come in here, he trains his men well. These men are well trained. He's linked to all the suspects you see here who have been arrested at one time or the other for this same offense of stealing cars.
Since its establishment in 1949, the Lagos Country Club has been known for its tranquility, but now it is facing an internal conflict. The club's management council is reportedly at odds with the recently appointed interim management board. Our correspondent Chidima Ona has details.
Do not have the support of the members of the club and are to be withdrawn.
The bone of contention is the registered trustees' decision to suspend the management council of the Lagos Country Club. In a recent statement by the management council, described the registered trustees' decision to suspend them and establish an interim board as illegal. This move has sparked outrage among a significant portion of the membership, prompting an extraordinary general meeting for a peaceful resolution and voting.
This is very, very disagreeable to the members, so we insisted we must have an EGM and bring the club back to a peaceful situation whereby all petitions are dropped,
The interim management council set up by the trustees is cancelled, and we passed a vote of confidence on the management committee that was sacked by the trustees.
There's been a lot of things happening in the club that has been very, very shameful to us, and we needed to quickly come together to be able to see a way to resolve this peacefully and to be able to make sure that we bring back the sanctity of the club back again. We have a lot of issues where the trustees of the club are dissolving the management council, which is out of the constitution of Lagos Country Club, and imposing an interim board on the management council that were duly elected.
Members of the prestigious club are urging the registered trustees to lessen its interference in the matters of the club.
Their interferences over the years started creating unnecessary conflict that now cumulated to this climax that we are having now. So for us members, we decided that this kind of interferences must stop. The trustees must stop exercising the powers that the Constitution did not give them. They must stop issuing directives to the management council that is charged with the responsibility of running the club. In fact, the management council nominates them to be appointed as trustees. So there is no way they can even be above the management council, because in the years past, they've played elderly roles, they've played fatherly roles, mediating in conflicts and achieving peaceful resolutions to conflicts that have happened in the club.
The Oust Management Council has appealed for calm and a return to the supremacy of the Lagos Country Club's constitution. They say they are committed to resolving the issue swiftly to ensure a safe and welcoming environment for members.
You're watching News Central now, and coming up, fire leaves 2 dead, about 2,000 homeless in South Africa. We'll bring you details of this and other stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. We continue the news tonight. In southern Africa, 2 people have died and almost 2,000 left homeless when fires engulfed hundreds of shacks in 3 separate incidents in South Africa's Cape Town. In Johannesburg, at least 60 shacks have been destroyed, leaving hundreds homeless. As understood, the blaze swept through the informal settlement early on Sunday at Commissioner Street in Fairview. Johannesburg's emergency service spokesperson, Nana Radebe, said firefighters managed to contain the blaze. In the east of the continent, Somali's state of Puntland has announced on Sunday it will no longer recognize federal institutions after Parliament backed a plan for a one-person, one-vote election system. It was the latest move in a long-running and sometimes tense saga, with Puntland repeatedly issuing similar declarations in recent years to express its disagreement with the central government in Mogadishu. As a result, Puntland says it will have its own comprehensive government authority until the federal government system is fully in place, with a mutually accepted Somali constitution that is subject to a public referendum. Authorities in the region opposed the adoption by Parliament of the plan to reintroduce universal suffrage and end the complex clan-based indirect voting system, which has been in place for more than half a century in the troubled Horn of Africa nation.
maanta waa maalin taariikhi ah, waa maalin weyn, waa maalin Soomaali u ah muhiim gaar ah, waa maalin aan ka baxnay kumeelgaarkii dastuur kumeelgaarka la helay sharci la isku dhaqan karo oo macquul la taaban karo.
waa maalin runtii la soo gaaray in baarlamaanka Jamhuuriyadda Federaalka Soomaaliya labadiisa aqal maalintii uu ku guuleystay ansixinta.
More than 1,000 demonstrators took to the streets of central Tunis to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. The events mark Palestinian Land Day, an annual commemoration of a deadly 1976 crackdown on protests against Israel land seizures.
وقفة أقل ما نجم نعمله للشعب الفلسطيني. شعب قاعد يعاني depuis des années. دونك يوم الأرض سي اون اوكازيون باش ديما نتفكروا اللي هي فما مظلمة في أرض فلسطين واللي نحن كعرب ومسلمين لازمنا نوقفوا مع أخواننا.
بمناسبة يوم الأرض 30 مارس من كل عام خرجنا باش نذكروا أن القضية الفلسطينية جزء لا يتجزأ من الشعب التونسي، وأن الشعب التونسي ماهوش نسي القضية الفلسطينية وما هيش حكر عنها.
That's 6 stories from around the world. Leaders in India, in the opposition alliance, and thousands of supporters rallied at New Delhi's Ramlila Maidan to protest the arrest of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, one of the key leaders of the opposition bloc. Kejriwal has been incarcerated for over a week in connection with a long-running corruption probe. India's main financial investigation agency, the Enforcement Directorate, has also launched probes into at least 4 other state chief ministers or their family members. And all the investigations involve political opponents of President Narendra Modi's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party.
केजरीवाल जी के साथ गलत हुआ है, लोकतंत्र को खतरा है, कल जनता को खतरा होगा, परसों हिंदुस्तान को खतरा होगा। जो आरोप है तो पहले ही नोटिस पे उसको गिरफ्तार कर लेते, नोटिस क्यों दिए? पहले पर ही गिरफ्तार करना चाहिए। यदि चोर है तो पहली बार में पकड़ लेना चाहिए।
वो यही पूछते हैं कि हमें केजरीवाल जी ने बहुत फैसिलिटी दी है, एजुकेशन फैसिलिटी दी है, हेल्थ की फैसिलिटी दी है, तो मन खुश हो जाता है। ऐसे ही हमारे पंजाब में भी अब शुरू हुआ। हमारे चीफ मिनिस्टर भगवंत सिंह मान जी वो भी यही सोच लेके आए हैं। वो हमारी एजुकेशन की ओर भी ध्यान दे रहे हैं, हेल्थ सिस्टम की ओर भी अभी ध्यान दे रहे हैं और आगे से बहुत बेहतर हो रहा है।
Nigeria boasts over 246 oil-producing fields and 188 production stations and platforms. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission underscores the sector's growth, highlighting additional facilities like gas terminals, FPSOs and FSOs. Recent data also reveals a marginal uptick in functional oil drilling rigs, reaching 16 in February, signaling continued advancements in Nigeria's oil outputs and installations. These developments align with the nation's efforts to bolster production and fortify energy security, as detailed in the March 2024 Oil Market Report by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Let's take sporting stories now. With 4 months to the start of the 33rd Olympic Games in Paris, the mayor of the city, that's the host city, Anne Hidalgo, has said on Saturday that Russian and Belarusian athletes were not welcome at summer's biggest sporting event. Hidalgo made her comments on a trip to Kyiv, where she visited a training center for Ukrainian athletes. Russian athletes are allowed to compete at the Paris Olympics, which runs from July 26 to August 11, but only as neutrals. Both countries have been banned from taking part in the opening ceremony, which will be held on the River Seine in the heart of the city. In response, Russia's Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Maria Zakharova, has described the International Olympic Committee's restrictions on its athletes as, quote, racism and neo-Nazism. In football, Newcastle United's captain Yamal Lascelles faces a lengthy spell on the sidelines, with scans revealing a ruptured anterior cruciate ligament in his right knee during Saturday's match with West Ham. The 30-year-old defender is set to undergo surgery next week and is expected to be sidelined for 6 to 9 months. Lascelles joins fellow centre-back Sven Botman, who suffered a similar injury earlier this month against Manchester City and is also facing up to 9 months out. Additionally, Newcastle's injury woes extend to other players like Tino Livramento, Emil Kraft, and Miguel Almiron, who all sustained injuries in the same match. The club's challenges with injuries further compound with England goalkeeper Nick Pope, Brazil midfielder Joe Linton, and striker Callum Wilson all sidelined for extended periods. And that's the size of the news. Before we go, let's take another look at the major stories. Christians in Nigeria have celebrated Easter amid the country's harsh economic condition. And fire has left about 2 dead, with 2,000 left homeless in South Africa. Tunisian demonstrators have marched in support of a ceasefire in Gaza. We'd like to hear from you. Please send us your eyewitness reports using the email address and WhatsApp number showing on your screen. Also, on social media, we at News Central TV. You can watch us live on any of these platforms or channels. Thanks for your time. I'm Kofi Bartels. Good evening.